Hey guys, it's Kevin Ginsmeyer for Girl Meets World, Season 2, Episode 9, Girl Meets Mr. Squirrels goes to Washington. Um, I was definitely looking forward to this episode. I really was. I thought what they did with Eric, and Eric in the last episode, the last episode we saw him in, I thought was really good. And plus, how can I not look forward to the show after that amazing, just amazing episode that was Girl Meets Hurricane? That was such an incredible episode that was just so different than anything else the show has ever done, and I was really hoping this episode would continue that storyline. Unfortunately, this episode was definitely not as good as that, and it was more on the line with, it was less like Girl Meets Hurricane, and more like, Girl Meets Rules, which is a huge problem, because you guys know that's my least favorite episode of the season. I didn't hate this episode. In fact, I really liked this episode, but there were a lot of things I thought in this episode were just kind of dumb, honestly. However, the ending of this episode is probably one of the best endings I think they've ever done to this show. Really, I think it was fantastic. And one of my biggest complaints to this episode was that it was kind of boring. It was kind of dry. I mean, just this whole episode was just kind of dry. I wasn't that into it. Basically, as we know, Eric has been recruited to become a senator, which is ridiculous. Basically, he out of all people, he's like this senator now. Um, of New York, I believe, or whatever. I don't even remember what it is, but basically, this whole thing with him becoming a senator is pretty ridiculous. I mean, just seeing Eric as a senator, I think, is really dumb. Um, and here's the thing that I don't like that they do with Eric in this episode. Look, I really love Eric as a character. He's very funny. He also has a lot of heart to him, and they really did show on this episode. What I didn't like is when they present him as a complete, like, idiot in this episode. Literally, he is an idiot at points in this episode, and it really didn't work for me. Eric, for me, works when he is, a ridiculous character, but actually does have a brain, and in this episode, it didn't really seem like he had one, and he was kind of annoying me. I mean, that there's this one scene with, like, Harley, where he kisses Harley, and basically thinks that Harley's, like, it's really dumb, where he think, where it's supposed to be babies, but he kisses janitors. It's really stupid. I didn't really find it funny. And I'm going to say that right now. I didn't really find this episode funny. Nothing in this episode I thought was that funny. Him calling Farkle robot, I thought that was kind of cool. I like that. I did really like the underlying message of this episode, though, which is all about kids and how kids should have a bigger impact in voting and how kids really feel about voting. And I thought that was really good because Corey basically asked them about current events, and they don't really seem that interested in them. And he asked them, besides, do they even care about the election? They said no, because they can't vote and they don't really care. And that I honestly can understand where they're coming from, because me, for example, when the last election happened, I watched the debates and things like that, but I didn't really care. Like, I didn't really have that much of an idea. Like, I mean, I cared who's running our country, obviously, but without voting, I can see where they're coming from, definitely, with that. And, the Corey had this great speech about how they should try to convince people to do that, but, like, there's nothing really you can do. You can't change who you're gonna, you can't change who's allowed to vote and who's not. You just can't do that. So that part I didn't really understand. I didn't really understand what they were trying to say there, what the real message of the episode was. But basically, there's this twist where Eric finds out that the only reason he was, in the running to be a senator is to make the other senator look good, which that basically is what the plan was. And that I thought was a really good twist. I really like that because basically, this guy, Jefferson Davis, he wants him to just make him look good because Eric's an idiot, and they basically thought that because he looks like an idiot, he'll just make this guy look good, and that basically is what their plan is. So Eric completely drops out of the race. He wants nothing to do with it. I mean, he's not confident at all, and Maya and Riley try to get him back into the race, which I did think the scene with them singing to him, I thought that was pretty funny. And then he talks about how he really does care about them, and I thought that was really good. I'll tell you what scenes I didn't like. I didn't like the first few scenes of this episode where Eric was just being an idiot. I didn't really find anything funny. I don't know what it was. It just didn't really work for me in this episode. I don't know what it really didn't work. I didn't find it funny. What I loved, though, was the ending of this episode, because throughout the episode, we keep seeing this kid, TJ Murphy, and we don't know who he is, but he's rooting for Eric the whole time, and he's talking about Eric, and we don't really know who this kid is, why he's there, and basically, it's time for the election. Everyone from, like, Riley's class is there, and basically we see that the one senator doesn't give two shits about kids voting at all. But I like what Eric says. I like what he definitely, because I do agree with what Eric is saying here, that it does make a difference. Definitely, I do agree with that. I think I do agree with the fact that, voting does make a difference. Kids are part of the reason, are something that parents should think about when they vote, or like something that people should think about in general, because kids really, they are the future. They are very important. I agree with Eric saying that. I thought that was definitely very well done that we saw that. That's something I really liked in this episode, I have to say, was seeing Eric say, you know what, kids do make a difference. And the senator basically says, who here has ever had this man make a difference in his life? And TJ steps up, and we find out this was such an amazing twist. I absolutely love this twist, guys, and I was like, okay, now I love this episode. We find out that TJ Murphy is actually Tommy. Yes. And I was like, I was legitimately shocked. They showed a montage of Tommy and Eric's scenes, and I almost cried. Tommy and Eric's storyline is one of the best things I think they ever did with Eric on Boy Meets World, because it showed how great of a parent he was. Something I always loved about Eric's character is that he really is a kid at heart. He is great. He's great with kids. He really works. He works really well with them. He knows how to talk to them. He would make a great father, but he doesn't really know how to take care of them. And that's something I thought was very well done in this episode. And that was one of my favorite storylines with, Tommy and Eric's storyline is one of the best things I think they ever did with Eric's character. For a while, I was just thinking they were going to portray him as a complete buffoon in this episode and not even remember, like, the amount of stuff he did in Boy Meets World. I mean, he did some pretty big stuff. I mean, think about what he did. He ended a huge fight between everyone in that great episode where everyone was at each other's throats, and he basically stopped them from fighting. He helped this kid Tommy, tried to give him a better life, even considered adopting him. And I mean, there are things that he did. I mean, as much of an idiot as he is, there are things that Eric did. And when we find out this is Tommy, I love the moment between Eric and Tommy. I just thought this was such a great moment, because Eric hasn't seen him in so long. Tommy's very successful now. He has this great family. And it was just so great to see the impact that Tommy had. He even said that he might be Eric's assistant if he becomes the senator. And basically, Eric's still in the running, and I thought that was great when we saw that. I loved that scene, I have to say. Besides that scene, I didn't really like this episode as much, I have to say. I really did love the ending, though, where Corey and Topanga just grab their bags, and Briley was like, well, Eric might become a senator, and they're like, yeah, good luck with that, bye-bye. I thought that was really funny, because to me, that was them thinking about all the shit Eric's put them in. I mean, think about the episode where he is one of my favorite episodes ever of Boy Meets World, where he's supposed to be their wedding planner, and he knocks over the candle, sets the curtain on fire, does all that kind of stuff, and that really is what I thought of when they left. I thought that was definitely very funny. Apart from that, though, I really didn't love this episode. I didn't. It wasn't the best one, and I found it kind of boring. When we weren't focusing on, that part of the story, I was kind of bored by it. I'm like, I don't really care about Eric becoming a senator. Honestly, I don't. I didn't think it was that interesting. I thought what they should have done with this episode is not have Eric be a complete idiot. Like, Eric is a person, yeah, he's not the brightest tool. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Definitely he's not. He's really not. But, he definitely is a guy that cares about people, and you see that, and I thought they did that very well towards the second half. The first half, I didn't think they did a very good job with that at all. I didn't think it was funny, and there was nothing he said that I thought was really funny, except I liked that he kept calling Farkle a robot because of how smart he was. I thought that was pretty funny. There's this one joke he has where he calls them all, like, Wizard of Oz characters. I'm like, what the hell what are you doing? Like, that was ridiculous. The worst scene for me, though, had to be with Harley. I didn't think that was funny at all. I don't understand what they were trying to do there. I kind of got the message of this episode, and I kind of didn't. I think the message was supposed to be how, like, kids make a difference, or, like, I really couldn't tell what the message was. That's one of my things as well, because usually I get the message right away. This one I didn't really understand. I really don't know, guys. Overall, guys, I thought this was a good episode, not a great episode. I didn't really love it. It definitely wasn't one of my favorites. I loved the ending with Tommy. By far the best thing about this episode. Had that not been in there, I would have probably hated this episode. Honestly, I didn't like it that much. I didn't find it that funny. If I had to grade the episode, C plus, honestly, C plus. I didn't find it that funny. I thought the scene with Tommy was fantastic, but I really didn't like this episode that much. Um, that's basically for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for another classic movie review, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.